Hello and welcome to this video about generating code. That's business logic layer, data access layer and value objects, etc. This is going to be using KISS. This is the second video. The first video showed how to synchronize with the database and reverse engineer. We'll go back to that solution now. Okay, we have our three data sources connected: data model, test database and deployment. We have our AltaScript SQL project and our SQL script DB SQL project with various scripts added, or it's generated by KISS rather. Okay, now we want to generate some code. So if we go to the wizard, CRUD template wizard, here you select which language you would like. In this instance we're going to choose C#. Choose whether you want dataset results or value object results. The templates will change accordingly depending on your selections, and also choose which web services you want, either ASP.NET Web Services, WCF or RESTful JSON services. Templates can be chosen for tables, stored procedures and views. In this instance we're going to choose the defaults. If you want to make modifications, for example change exception handling or transactions, then we can go to the templates and modify those as you require. Okay, so we'll hit next. Here we can set stored procedure prefixes and view prefixes, sorry, the stored procedure for the views. So we have stored procedures generated for a table, stored procedures generated for a view. Hit next. Here's the tables, stored procedures and views in the data model database that we're going to select for generation. We can see here that we have primary keys and identities on all the selected tables. It's recommended that all tables have a primary key and an identity column to help with generation. Hit finish. Okay, and we see that we've refreshed. We've now got code projects for generating code, tables that have been selected, stored procedures have been selected, and the views have been selected. If you select a table in the user interface, you can see the fields in that table. You can also see the SQL data definition language, the result set for XSDs, sorry, the XSD result for a dataset, and also the value object that's going to be generated. And that's the same for stored procedures that return a dataset and views. Okay, currently we don't have any code generated, so let's go ahead and generate some code. The amount of time taken to generate depends on the number of tables, stored procedures and views, and whether you've selected all the web services or none. Okay, there we go. We've also now got a web service configuration export, which has the binding and endpoints for WCF, JSON and ASP.NET Web Services. The endpoints here are determined by the settings in the solution. So we have a look at the solution and the web services. See here the location of the web services, which is then passed on to the configuration files. Okay, so now we've got some code generated. We'll have a look at the DAL. So we've got the custom and manifest. Customs are generated once and then not overwritten. You can see here I made an alteration and that hasn't been overwritten, where the manifest files are overwritten every time you generate to take into account field changes in the database. So you can see here with the insert output identity, select ID, select all, order by primary key, update, delete. Also foreign key relationships are observed. So you can see here order line select all by product ID. And that goes all the way through from the dial to the business logic layer, value objects, domain objects, domain object managers, which allows you to get a list of domain objects, web services, WCFs, and JSON. Okay, let's have a look at this in Visual Studio Project. New file, open, and this is a solution that I had previously. You can see here that the relevant projects have been added into Visual Studio. The BLL, the dial, domain objects, domain object managers, enumerations, that's the test application there, value objects, WCF web services, RESTful web services, and ASP.NET web services. You may not need all these in your application. This is just to demonstrate that KISS will generate them. Okay, so if we have a look in generated, we can see here that these files have just been generated. It's today's date and time. Rebuild. Okay. So due to a previous demonstration, the product value object now no longer has the code property. So we just comment that out. That was deleted from the data model. Okay, and we also have to take out the code from the insert and the update. Because we've removed a field, we also need to update the web service reference. Okay, and that will give us the final change errors here. So now we see that the web service update no longer requires code.txt, and the same for the insert method. This demo app is available for download from rapidagiledevelopment.com. Depending on which transport is selected from the main form, determines which methods are going to be called. So if I go to OK on the product here, if we go to update record, depending on the transport, it's either going to use a client server, a WCF web service, or a ASP.NET web service. Okay, let's run this up. So first of all, client server, go to products, and new product. because code's been removed, we're not going to add code, and we'll just add an image. Now, that hasn't flushed through, so we'll get last error. Okay, we can see now in the test database that a stored procedure is missing. Now, the custom errors are supplied with the installation and can be added as either a project or a binary into your solution. This gives you access to custom error handling. Let's have a look at the DAL. Now we're doing a product. So when there's an error, it's logged to this exception handler. And this can either be held in memory or saved to file by changing the constant here, or you can set that to a configuration file setting. So what hasn't happened here is executing the generated SQL scripts on the test database. Currently the test database has one existing stored procedure. We now need to add the generated stored procedures for CRUD. We just do that by executing that file manifest, and the same for the views. These are stored procedures that allow access to the views. Okay, so we go back to the test app. And do add. Again, no code because that's been removed. Browse to an image. And there we have our product record added. If we do that again, we'll trace that through. So we'll stop on when OK is clicked. So product 2. Okay, so we're going to insert a record. Comes through to insert record. It's the image bytes. Then calls the business layer object insert, which in turn calls the business rules for insert. By default these return true, but you can modify those to observe your business rules. So we have a product VO, you can do some tests on that and then return the result. Then we go down to the data access layer. Now in the templates you can substitute the hard-coded connection string here for a data source manager of your own design to give the connection string that you require. Execute query, success, return result, and then all the way back up again. Now that was for client server. We select change the transport here to WCF services, and let's have a look at customers this time. It takes a while for the services to start up. Add a customer. Okay, there we go. Through web service. And do again through ASP.NET Web Services. Same data. to test JSON. We go to the JSON web services and start up a session, web browser. So if we go then to select all, you can see here we get the JSON result for selecting all customers. Okay, so we managed to very easily generate data access layer, business logic layer, and objects for tables, stored procedures and views, generate and execute the CRUD stored procs for tables and views through KISS onto our test database. Once you're happy with your testing, you can then move to a deployment database and apply your scripts there. Thank you for your time, and we hope you enjoy KISS.